Hey, which actually spells out the word Vahia, meaning and it will be. This refers to the future and is our first clue of the importance and the gift of this month. This is the time when we lay groundwork and create the foundation for the type of light and life we are going to have in the coming year. Clearly, this is very important, so our spiritual work and our consciousness need to be very strong and focused. Okay, this is the Tetragrammaton. This is the name of God. This is the covenant name, Yahweh. It can be permeated, permutated, to have 12 different configurations. Each configuration governs a particular month of the year. This is, as it is now, this is the configuration that you use all the time, but this corresponds to Nisan 1. Today we're going to rearrange that into, and I took my place out. Rosh Hashanah, okay. Hello, okay. One more, okay. Let me get back to that page. Shashan, nope, not Shashan. Sukkot, I'm almost there. Yom Kippur, that's next one. The next holiday coming up, Rosh Hashanah. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're doing Vav, Hey, Yo, Hey. So,
the last one and the first one.
Vav,
That's yours.
I mean, Vav, Hey, Yo, Hey. The Hey will remain last, the Vav will be first, and the Yo will be the third letter. Vav, Hey,
Yo, and then Hey. Okay.
Vav, Hey. That's why I want you to cut out more letters, so whatever the configuration is for the month, we just put it up there and people can see
I
it.
create all the letters on separate cards, big cards. I see that.
Okay. There's something else in here. Oh well. That's a different one, I guess. Okay. So we have Lamed and Pei that we're going to focus on while we, do the blasts and the connections. The other thing, now there is something additional about Rosh Hashanah this year that has not occurred probably for a century or better. This is actually beginning of what we call Jubilee. There is something called the Shemitah, which is a 7-year cycle in which the land is supposed to rest and debts are supposed to be canceled. And land is supposed to be restored to original owners or to the generational inheritance of that land. Every 7 years is what is called a Shemitah year, or a period of rest and restoration and the cancellation of debts. When you have 7 Shemitah years, that's 49 years. The year immediately following the 49th year is called Jubilee. And that's when it's supposed to happen even in the Shemitah year, but in Jubilee, it really happens. I mean, all debts are canceled. Nations are returned back to people groups during the Jubilee year. We're in Jubilee. This is, in my adult life, this is my first Jubilee year in my adult life. The last Jubilee year was in either 66 or 67, whenever the 6 days of war occurred in Israel. The Jews recaptured Jerusalem after 2,000 years. They recaptured it and took it again in the Jubilee year. The Shemitah year, just to show you how important the Shemitah years, the last Shemitah year was 2008 when our stock market crashed. The Shemitah year before that was 9/11/2001. All kinds of weird stuff happens in Shemitah year. World War I began in the Shemitah year. World War II began in the Shemitah year. Vietnam, was a Shemitah year. When the first skyscraper that was erected in this country was during the Shemitah year. It has a lot to do with the high places of a land or a country. The Depression occurred in the Great Depression occurred in the Shemitah year. In Shemitah years, if we have not been following biblical principles, if we have not been engaged in positive actions and energetic actions that benefit mankind, we can have a judgment. It can be a great thing too, but it can also be a bad thing as well. And it is either Jubilee a lot of times is marked with a war. Not always, but sometimes. The main thing is that it signifies the end of eras and the beginning of a new one. So I'm not saying we're going to have the end of the world, this year or anything like that, but I definitely believe that an end of an era has occurred and a new one is beginning. Now, what that is, there's a lot of speculation out there, but both Christians, Jews, and secular people alike are talking about the energy that is beginning today. And it is extremely rare that you have Christians, Jews, secular people all in agreement about this day. So something is going to happen. I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to predict, but you better kind of just get ready to flow with whatever is about to happen. And it's usually, a big shift, a major turnaround. What's the best way to have a major shift? A war. Okay? At least historically. I mean, you can have major shifts spiritually, but you can see why wars usually begin.
The Great Industrial Revolution was a great shift.
Yeah.
For prosperity and growth.
It might have begun during the Shemitah year.
Any one of those types of things, you want to look it up.
Okay. I'm serious. A good source to kind of begin with, he's a Messianic Jew, and he wrote a series of books called The Mystery of the Shemitah by Rabbi Jonathan Kahn. It actually made the New York bestseller list, or The Harbinger.
You've heard of that one?
No. I've heard of The Harbinger.
Yeah, The Harbinger, that's where
and his companion guy, he historically went through all of the Shemitah years and matched them up with what happened historically. World War I, World War II, Vietnam, 9/11, the crash of 2008, the Depression, even the Civil War.
It seems like they're all negative, though. Is that the purpose of a Shemitah year?
No, it's not supposed.
So there's positives, but there's definitely negative markers. Events.
It depends on what the tipping point was.
You said something about if they weren't sort of living according to their spiritual.
Right. Then it can be negative, but it can also be very positive. It was designed. It was not designed for judgment. It was designed for blessing. But we mess, we mess it up with, a whole bunch of negativity and garbage and other stuff. And
we didn't mess it up. We just made different choices.
Okay.
That were in alignment with our greater good.
Exactly. Okay. both temples were destroyed during Shemitah years.
Because they weren't in alignment.
They weren't in alignment, and here's why they weren't in alignment. Rabbinical Jews or traditional Jews are not celebrating, they didn't celebrate the Shemitah year last year. And they're not celebrating Jubilee. They like to, they claim, well, we really don't, we got a discrepancy or whatever. No, what it is, they don't want to, you know, it messes with their money. If they have to cancel debts and return land, the Jews have got all kind of ways to get around Shemitah and Jubilee. The rabbis have come up with all of these technical, for instance, if you owe a debt, transfer the debt to the temple so that it can't be canceled or something. I may have that a little bit askew, but it's things like that, so that they, you know, they have ways of getting around it, not ways of fulfilling it. So naturally they're saying, now, well, So they're not celebrating the Shemitah or Jubilee.
But they do believe in the Shemitah and Jubilee, but they're not celebrating it. But they do believe it.
Well, if you don't celebrate it, you don't believe in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say that too, but where did we even, you have to ask them, how did we even come to the revelation of, or the knowledge of the Shemitah and the Jubilee if it weren't for the Jews?
It's in the Bible. It's you know. Now, here's another book that you can, if you're so inclined. This is by Rabbi Yosef Ziv Ramon on all of the laws of the Shemitah. Okay, I've been trying to go through and reference some of these things. The next Shemitah year, I will have read this by then. I couldn't get through, you know, all of it this time around, but I will. Let's see, it was a couple of, okay. And he also wrote like a little companion to it, Shabbat Ha'aretz. Shabbat, you know, is a rest, and Ha means the, Aretz means land, rest of the land. You're not supposed to, in the Shemitah year, you're not supposed to do any farming or agriculture. You don't go out and harvest. It should be left there for the poor to glean. For those disenfranchised people, for them to come and gather that whole year. But, you know, most Jews don't want to do that. And they didn't do that. And so the first temple was destroyed in the Shemitah year, and the second temple was destroyed in the Shemitah year. So instead of being blessed, you know, because they got out of alignment, you know, they didn't want to give. You know, God promised that if you will let the land rest and cancel debts in the Shemitah year, the following year, or the year before the Shemitah year, He'll give you double.
People don't have enough faith to let that happen.
Yeah. He promised them double. If you will do this, I'll give you, you won't miss a thing. Just do it. I'll double up on your blessings. But nope. Okay? And Israel is a power center of the world. Israel is the center of the universe. And Jerusalem is its nucleus. So what happens there gets magnified throughout the world. Because that's the power center. If that's blessed, if the people of the land are doing what they're supposed to do, the entire world receives, you know, a blessing. Okay? Now, okay, we talked about the Shemitah, Jubilee. Okay, I'm looking up there for it.
Yeah, where is it?
You didn't put it?
11:40.
Okay. We're going to get down to the shofar blowing now. Okay. Let me explain